wallet needs to go on a diet anyway. It's almost beach season, so, gotta slim up. Welcome and welcome back, everybody. It's T here, and today we have a very special guest, my good friend and friend of the channel, Collin. Yay!
Hey!
Welcome, Collin. We're so glad to have you here, and Collin is here today for a very special episode of SIMP City, because while I do love games within this genre or this theme of games, it's not one that I'm super familiar with. I'm far from being an expert, and that is Western-themed games. So, Collin, how do you feel about Western games? Just if you were to sum it up.
It's a little bit of a trigger word for me. I have a weakness, but it's not always a selling point, but it gets me looking at it at least. I'll say that.
Yeah. You start feeling your pocket itching anytime someone's like, Western.
I feel like that Willy Wonka meme is like, tell me more.
Today we're going to be talking about some Western-themed games. So really quickly, if you haven't already and you're over on Instagram, be sure to check out Collin's page. Not only does he post about Western games, but just he has great taste in games in general, and he has amazing reels and skits that are super relatable for anybody who's into board gaming. So be sure to go check him out right after this if you haven't already. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in with our first Western-themed game here. And this is one that is going to probably sound familiar if you've been around on the channel, and that is Circle the Wagons, which is a small 18-card wallet game that is published by Button Shy Games. So this is definitely one of my favorites, especially probably my favorite of theirs two-player games. But the people have heard me gush about this game. So, Collin, what is it about Circle the Wagons that you love?
Well, I always got to show off that I have it right here with me. It's like I've worn out 2 of these vinyl wallets because I carry it around so much.
Oh my gosh!
But I just love that it's got like a 1 point something weight on BGG, but I always feel like it's more than that. It should be more than that. But I guess people are like, yeah, it's a 1, it's a 2, and then it averages them out. But it's a lot of times it feels like I'm playing like a mid-weight game with every card I'm taking from the middle of the table, because it's 18 cards, but every one of the cards that you take, you're making like 10 decisions with. Like, okay, am I considering the different goals? Does it work with my groupings? And if I just like don't want to give it to you for the goals, and then like, okay, if that's the case, like, oh, what do I do with this piece of garbage that I just took?
Yeah. This is another one that I just love the unique scoring objectives on the backs of each card. It just makes it so variable from play to play. Like, you really can't use the same strategy each game. And like you said, Collin, even though it is a short game that's very easy to learn and you're really only like taking a card and placing it in your tableau on each turn, it feels very strategic because there are all those things to consider, and it's like I leave this game feeling very satisfied that if I did well, it's because I made good decisions. If I didn't, it's because I wasn't thinking hard enough and I only considered like 8 out of the 10 things or something. So it plays really quickly. So even though it's an easy game to learn, the amount of thinkery that goes on in the like 10 minutes it takes to play, I think is pretty high and pretty rewarding.
Yeah, I really think there needs to be a word. It's almost like Subway used to be, their tagline was "Great food fast, not fast food." Like, and that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I love that. That's how I feel about a lot of games, because I've gotten this thing from people where they're like, "Oh, you just don't like light games," and I'm like, bruh, like, I own 20 games that fit inside of a wallet, or like 30 at this point, I think. So it's like, not that I don't like light games. I think there's a good ratio between the length of the game, the like barrier of entry for learning the game, the ease of play, and then just like how strategic the game is or how weighty it is for that. So yeah, I definitely concur with that. But Circle of the Wagons is a great one for that. If you haven't already checked it out from me pestering y'all about it, you definitely need to now, because Collin also says so. And yep.
My word is law.
The next game on our list is another 2-player game, and this is another one that I've pestered y'all about, but it is Longhorn. In case you're not familiar, in the vein of Bruno Cathallo type games, using a Macau style aspect to pick up cows, place them out, There are different tiles for different objectives and different scoring, and then the cows themselves are a supply and demand, where the more cows you have, the less valuable they are. But also, if you can get all 9 cows of a type, you're going to be able to win the game outright. So it's a really cool, tight 2-player game.
A palatable Mancala for me. Like it took 5 tribes at 2 players. Like you take 2 turns each round in 5 tribes, and the puzzle just like. But this kind of like takes it down to like 9 tiles, I think, or the 16
tiles. 9 tiles. Yeah, just
and. Yeah, it's nice. It's a little bit more compact, and it makes it's like, oh, my brain's like, oh, yeah, it's nice.
It's very manageable, but again, like with Circle of Wagons, there's a lot of little different things to consider, even though there's minimal kind of components out and like a minimal space or minimal play area. And another thing I love about this game is just the artwork. Vincent Dutrait's art is beautiful. For me personally, I'm more of a fan of his landscapes versus his like actual people. So each tile just having like a gorgeous landscape to present the really cute little cow meeples and the different action tiles is just, oh, it looks so good set up on the table. It looks good, like photographed. It's just a very gorgeous game, and it's got some unique kind of mechanics to it for 2 players. So I love this game a lot. This is one that anytime I find a copy for cheap, I buy it and I gift it because I'm like, everybody needs this game. It's so good. The next game on our list, however, is not one that I've played, and that is Flip Town. So I'm going to turn this one over to you, Collin, because this is a game that I knew nothing about or hadn't even heard of until I saw you post about it on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not sure many people have heard about it or played it at all, really, because it's still like kind of in development. It's coming to Kickstarter like toward the end of April. But yeah, it's a flip and write. So the best way I could describe this is like, think of Western theme, but you take like Welcome to and Gush on Clever and mash them together. So you have like the using different cards to do different things on your board, but then you have like combo things that you can do. And the cool thing is you're flipping up 3 cards, and you choose 1 card to use for the suit, 1 to use for the value, and that determines what you can do for that turn. But you can also use your gold nuggets that you've gotten to modify either the suit or the value of the cards. So you can do more with that. And then the 3rd card goes to your poker hand. You're like developing a poker hand that can get, I mean, it's kind of like a little, I don't really bother with it sometimes. Like sometimes, like the most I usually get with it is a pair. Like,
gotcha.
But if you, depending on how well you do with your poker hand, you get like extra money and points, and you need money to do certain things in the game.
That's really cool. And you said it has like little combos too. If I'm looking at the board here, it certainly looks that way, which looks very satisfying.
Like each region is considered denoted by like a suit. So the diamond is the mine, and so if I do an action somewhere else that has a diamond over it, I can go and basically do a free action in any space that's available to me in that region.
That sounds cool. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Gush and Clever kind of like just do this, then it triggers this, then it triggers this. That just gets my brain going on all cylinders. And those are the games that I feel like I want to play over and over and over again, back to back to back to back, and like all the time. What's the playtime on this one? Is that kind of sussed out? Is it a little longer, a little shorter?
I usually take about a half hour with it.
Okay, gotcha.
It's like it's close to like the limit on what I would want to do for a roll and write, but like it just feels so good. Like I play test games, not a lot, but like when I do it like once or twice. And this one I've done at least 10 or 12 games of.
Oh man,
because I just enjoy it that much.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be like a really good kind of just like lunch break game, maybe, if it plays in 30 minutes. Looking at the Board Game Geek page, let's see, it says 45, so something around there. But
it might just be because I've gotten really good at it, like knowing what can do what.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a good one to just like focus and just completely block everything else out and just like get all your combos, make your poker hand. Sweet. And you said this will be coming to Kickstarter sometime relatively soon as of this video, which is sometime in spring of 2022.
Yeah, it's in April. It's going to be hitting Kickstarter. I think like toward the end of April.
Oh, nice. Sweet. That's definitely one I'm going to put on my radar and make a note to check out when it does come out. And sweet. Speaking of games, let's start with the letter F. We have Flick 'em Up, which is actually a dexterity game. Now, I haven't necessarily played the actual original Flick 'em Up. I only have experience playing Flick 'em Up Dead of Winter. So again, Collin, I'm going to defer to your expertise here because I'm pretty much I've never gotten to play it yet.
I've played like 1 or 2 scenarios in the Dead of Winter one, and that game, I hate that game because it is so hard. The zombies make it so much more difficult. And the Western one is just like, it's team versus team all the time. But like, I know in Dead of Winter, like you can have team versus team, but you have the zombies like, attacking you too.
In the regular Flick 'em Up, is it just team versus team? Is it like a 1 versus all? Is it cooperative? Does it have different modes? Kind of similar?
It's just team versus team. But I mostly have just played it as a 2-player game, just me versus Cindy, my wife. And we've done it with my parents a couple times, like where I think one of us teams up with one parent, the other teams up with the other, because, well, learning new games, it's like you want to have like an even footing, but it's never really even with me on one team. Not to brag, but like people don't like playing flicking games with me that much because I do pretty well at them.
I think those are like the one games people do like playing with me, because usually they get salty if we play something else, but I'm so bad with dexterity games. I love them to death, don't get me wrong, but I'm really, really bad at them. You know how you go to like flick a component, and not only does it not go where you want it to go, but it literally goes nowhere because you just missed the component altogether with your finger.
You whiffed.
That's me, yeah. Yeah, this is one that Duke has in his collection, and we just have not been able to get it to the table. Does it play really well at 2?
Yeah. I mean, I'm hesitant to play it with more than 4, actually. Like, it plays technically up to 10.
Yeah.
But, like, each person is controlling one cowboy. And if your cowboy dies, you're still in because you just, like, rotate your turns. So, like, you just have longer between turns the more cowboys die. So I could picture it becoming less and less fun as the game progresses.
Okay, yeah, our big thing was it seemed like more of a larger, because it has a larger player count, I guess my assumption was it would play better with more players. So that's interesting to hear that it works really well at 2. And I think we'll definitely have to try that, because that was like a big thing for a while was, no friends over for board game night or no big board game nights. So we were just kind of waiting, but maybe we'll just have to bust it out before that at 2. And
another fun part of it is just setting up the scenery too.
Oh yeah, it looks really cool on the table, and like all the different buildings and the cacti, which, funny story, one of the reasons why we looked into getting Flick 'em Up was because you can actually use the cacti in junk art as a component. Yep. So if you're a fan of junk art,
I've done that scenario once.
And speaking of larger player count games, next up we have Bang or Bang the Dice game. So correct me if I'm wrong here, Collin, but this is not a Western game that you're a big fan of, yeah?
I read the rules to it and I packed it up and put it away. I was like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this that much.
Oh no!
I still have it. It's still there. So if someone wants to convince me otherwise, I'm available.
I personally really love Bang the Dice game. I did try Bang the card game originally, which was all right. And then I think there was Samurai Sword, which plays off of similar mechanics, but drags the game out way too long, even though the theme is very cool. Bang the Dice game takes all of the things that I wanted from those 2 games and just really polishes them up. If you're not familiar with Bang the Dice game, it's a hidden roll game where you're going to be rolling dice, kind of a Yahtzee style, getting re-rolls, and then you're going to utilize the powers on those dice to target other players, to heal people, to do different actions. And this one is just really fast and fun. I think the expansion on Dead or Alive really adds one of the things that's very needed in these style of games, which is if you're the first person eliminated out and it's an elimination style game, you actually get to come back as a ghost, which usually the groups that we play party games with all target me because I'm the person everybody knows, and like, oh, I've just met this other person, I'm not going to target them, let's just kill Tia. So It's nice to like have a party game that we can play that's hidden roles and has elimination, but that like, you know, I'm not out in the first 2 rounds and then I never get to play.
Well, can you still win as a ghost?
Yes, because you can still, I think it depends on the circumstances, but if I'm remembering correctly, you still like keep your allegiance with the team that you're on, or sometimes it can switch based on your role. So you can still win. You just have to like manipulate things in such a way that you're helping your team, which is it's pretty fun. It's definitely a great one. And then there's another expansion, which I can't think of the name right now. It's probably at the bottom of the page here somewhere. But
I know there's like the duel also, or some showdown or something like that.
Old Saloon, yeah. And
there it is.
With Old Saloon, you actually add a risky die and then like a more safe healing defensive die, which always a hoot at parties because like how can you not call them the big D and the little D die? So every time I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm about to die, I just grab the, you know, the big D die and I just yell big D die and you chuck it on the table, and usually I end up blowing myself up with dynamite, but you know, it's all part of the narrative. I hope you get to try this one, Collin. Like when we hang out, we're gonna have to play it because it's super fun. And I don't know. It's been a long time since I've read the rules versus having played it, so I can see how the rules might make it sound a little bit lackluster, but overall, I don't know. It's just amazing.
All right, cool. Well, I'm convinced. I should try it, but with the right crowd.
Yes, that's definitely important for any social deduction or big party games. But the next game on the list is another one that I'm not familiar with. It's one that a couple people have recommended, including Collin here, so it's only a matter of time, but that is Gold West from TMG Games.
Yeah, so Gold West, so many people have said in reviews and stuff that the theme it's pasted on, but I'm like one of the diehard, like this, I actually feel the theme in this, like you're like panning for gold, you're trying to get all your resources as you're doing a Mancala thing to get all them off of your track. What I like about this though is that the Mancala just goes one direction. Like this, I played this after playing Trajan, which like with you can go. Could you go both directions in Trajan? I forget.
I don't remember.
Well, there's different colors and stuff. You're trying to make match up the colors, and it was like I had a hard time processing that. But this like Gold West, I've got it right here. It makes it linear, so you're just going one direction. It made it so much easier to process, and it just you're just getting your goals and your copper, and you're sifting out stone and wood too. And it's area control mixed with that Mancala resource management, and it's a point salady type game.
Literally anytime a game mentions any sort of Mancala type aspect, I'm like, ooh, I'm in. It was that way with Five Tribes. It was that way with the Thunder one with the Dragons. Talong had that Mancala kind of aspect for action selection and programming. Obviously Longhorn. So that sounds like a really interesting one. And nobody had ever sold it to me before with the word Mancala in it. So that was probably like the last little bit of encouragement I need to go out and try it. I see it's published by TMG Games though. Do you happen to know offhand if it's like available, or is this going to be one that I put on my wish list forever?
I am hopeful, since it's J. Alex Cavern and Renegade publishes everything else by him, that they'll pick it up at some point.
Ooh, okay, well, fingers crossed, because this seems like a good time, and I would love to try it. Oh man, not even planned. Speaking of games that we may have to wait a while on, the next one is Montana, which is a great game. The expansions may get here someday, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're just here to talk about the awesome Western theme and the fun mechanics in the games. One of the things that stands out to me with this game is really the kind of like bidding and the economy aspect of it with the pumpkins. I don't know. I think just having pumpkins as a resource, the first time I played it, I was like, wait, what? Pumpkins? Like, that's what's stuck in my brain. But I don't know. Is this one similar to Gold West, Collin, in terms of like building out your settlements? Because just like
no,
because they look.
Yeah, Montana totally is more of a race, but Gold West has a like it's going to be this long of a game, and Gold West doesn't have a spinner.
No, yeah, the spinner is so fun. You gotta get that dexterity element in there for sure. Even though it's like not a skill-based dexterity element, it's still fun. Like, who doesn't like?
Yeah, I just flick it as hard as I can.
Same. Unless I miss, in which case then I do have to do a redo because I think it's against the rules to just leave it on the same spot.
Yeah, I think it needs to make one full revolution.
Mm-hmm. With this one, I think one of the reasons why we haven't gotten it more to the table is that race element. I haven't played it too terribly much at this point, and I was thinking that a lot of the expansions would kind of flesh that out, but it does seem like when we get towards the end of the game, there's one person that can definitely like rush, and then everybody gets an equal number of turns. Yes? No? Maybe I'm misremembering. Or is it just straight up?
Yes, I think you finished the round. You finished the round, yeah.
The end condition for this one, for me, I don't know, it like feels a little off. Although I love all the things I'm doing throughout the game and during, that was kind of the one thing that I left with kind of a, But yeah, bearing in mind that the expansions may adjust some of those conditions at some point when they get here, that could be really fun.
I will say, I've only played this 2-player, I'm pretty sure. And I think at 2-player, it is solid because like that, I feel like what the end trigger is like, oh, I didn't know you were that close. Like that kind of feeling. But like when it's 2-player, you can see how well the other player is doing if you're paying attention to them. And so I think it balances it out a little bit better.
That is a really good point. I can definitely see that being better at 2. The times that I've played, I think the first time I played it at 2 and I loved it. And then I went out and bought it myself and we played it with 4 players, I think mostly. So that's a really good point because I think I didn't have that problem originally when I just played it with 2. So now this is really wanting me to go play this again. Probably right after this with Duke. And moving on from that, this is another one that I've gotten to play only once, unfortunately, and that is Carson City. And this one, Collin, you're more of an expert on. Does this one play better with larger player counts? Because that was kind of the feeling that I got when we got to try it at 2, was next time we play this, I want to have a bigger group.
Well, I would say if you're going to play at any player count, you're playing with an experienced player who knows all the different roles is a key aspect because there is a total of like 19 different roles in the game, and you use 7 in a game. And depending on what player count you're at, you might want to have different roles that'll make it a little bit more interactive, or a little bit like if people want to be, keeping to themselves, you can pick roles to suit their needs. And
gotcha.
Yeah, but at higher player, like the big box goes up to 6 players, and I hate playing at 6 players. It is too much chaos.
Too much.
I max out at 5.
Gotcha. We Duke got the big box and we tried it just the 2 of us, but neither of us had played before. So I think that might be some of it as well, is like neither of us really knew. We were just kind of piecing together what the game was. From what I can remember, there is some like interaction in terms of like stealing and targeting other opponents. Which that was the thing that I felt like with more players, you would have more options there. And it might be like that part of the game. I'm curious to see how it would play with just other than, okay, well, I have to target someone and you're the only person here, so I guess I'm targeting you kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing I love about it. Well, not the part that you were saying necessarily, but it's worker placement, but you put your worker down and I don't have a guarantee on this spot. Like, so you can put a guy there and then we have to duel. You can roll a die and compare, like add in your additional firepower and see who wins. Or there's like a variant where there's no luck. You just like pick a number and then you compare. We haven't played that way because it seems more fun with the die roll.
Yeah, I would agree.
But then, the person that loses gets their person back for the next round because your workers carry over that you didn't use.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting mechanic, and that's not one that I've seen with worker placement. Like, I've seen where you bid on a spot with workers. I've seen where you obviously just straight up block somebody out, or where you have to then, to use that spot, like place more workers or resources. So I really liked that aspect of kind of duking it out. It felt very thematic, but I feel like that would be so much more fun in a larger player game than with just 2. So it's
it would definitely,
hopefully soon.
It would open up a couple more strategies. having more players. But yeah, there's a module in the big box that's it's bandits or outlaws. I can't remember which one it is. We use the names interchangeably, but it pops up these extra little guys on the board that will like take money from your buildings, and you can't like build where they're at, so you have to go and fight them off, and it's another way of getting points.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah,
I like that.
That's nice to have for like 2 and 3 player games.
Oh, well, we'll definitely have to throw that in if we play with 2 and 3 next time. But I definitely want to try this one with more players too. It just seems like it just seems like a really cool combination of elements that I like and some elements that I'm usually not a big fan of, but the way that they're implemented here is just really unique. So yeah, that's Carson City. And the next game on the list is another one that I haven't gotten to play a whole lot, and that is Great Western Trail. This game, though, however, I love it. Collin, do you have some thoughts?
It's a good game. But I'm one of the few people that says Western may be in the name, but it's not a Western game. It just doesn't feel Western to me.
It doesn't feel... Okay, let's just take a look. 3 men on the cover... at least 2. Well, the first main central man is definitely a cowboy, has a cowboy hat, looking very Clint Eastwood. Meeples have cowboy hats, right? Western in the name. It's about cows, cattle, just like Longhorn. There's railroads. That's very Western-y.
All these words that you're saying are Western-y words, but it combines all together to make what. If I was going to say a theme, I would say it's a Pfister game. It's an Alexander Pfister game. That's what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like a Western.
Do you feel like the theme isn't super well integrated into it? Or I don't know, because like one of the things that I thought was cool is that you're building your own personal engine on your board, right? But then you're also placing out buildings along the trail that other players can utilize, so it's almost like a little bit of a communal engine as people are progressing through. And I felt like that was very Western themed. It like took me back to my Oregon Trail days, where you're going down the trail, visiting different buildings, getting your resources. I don't know. I might be crazy here, but
I mean, if you can draw the theme, I'm not gonna take it away from you. Like it's like me with Gold West. It's like no one sees what I see, but I see it.
I definitely see.
Yeah, I'm not disparaging the game at all. It's a good game. It's just
yeah. I thought it was fantastic, and this is another one that it's like I haven't gotten to play it a lot, but every time I think about it, I get excited and I'm like, we should play that again. And it just hasn't made its way back to the table recently, so we'll definitely have to make a note to change that. But one of the things I remember too is just the cow cards. I'm not like a huge fan of cows, the animals, but I don't know why. I got really attached to my cattle. So you like trade them in sets, but I was so excited. What was it? I don't remember the number, but there was like the big longhorn cow that was like 7 points or something.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember, but when I was building my deck and when I was like, you know what? I might not win. I might not like do any of these cool things or do that well, but my goal is just to get that like big longhorn cow into my deck, and I will die happy. And I was so excited when I did. I had names for all my cows. Like, it was a good time. I got very attached. Okay, I tend to stay away from lengthier games. I like quick punchy games, but this is one that when we sat down and played, I was like, man, I'm almost ready to like go for round 2 because that was so satisfying.
Oh wow.
So speaking of games with Western in the name, see how well we planned this out, guys? Like, this is quality content. This is a game that I have not played, but Collin, you can just go ham. That is Western Legends. Why Western Legends?
So yeah, Western Legends, it is a really thematic game. Like if I have to pick like an epic game to play, it's going to be this one. And we enjoy it at 2 players too, me and Cindy, like because we have no trouble with getting in each other's faces. This goes up to 6 players, and everyone online except for me says this sucks at 2 players. And given the base game at 2 players is kind of so. Like I thought it was a good game, but I needed more players. And then I got a couple of the expansions, which to me improved the 2 player. And so like there's like a third guy, the man in black, that's like traveling around the board and messing usually with the player in the lead, but sometimes he messes with the player that's not in the lead too. But yeah, you're going around delivering cattle, like either you're like rustling, taking them to the opposite ranch and like saying like, yeah, I got this cattle to sell you, but it was really something I stole from another ranch. Or I can just deliver them down to the train station. You can go and mine for gold, take it to the bank. You can go to the cabaret and party, spend a bunch of money. And there is poker. You could play poker in it.
So it seems like Western Legends is like basically being a cowboy, the RPG in board game form. Yeah?
Yeah. It's like for all these games, I put on a Western playlist I've constructed on Amazon Music. But yeah, it really fits with this game. Like, it just brings out that theme.
Sounds like it's a game that you can really just get into the role of your character. And so is it mostly a pick up and deliver game, or is it just kind of point salad where you get different points from doing all of these different avenues?
A lot of it is pick up and deliver because you got the cattle, you have the gold. You're like, once you get the gold, you bring it to the bank to cash it in for your points and stuff. You're getting points from varying sources, but I wouldn't call it a point salad. But it's a sandbox, really is what it is. I will say a big misconception people have is because the word sandbox gets used is you can ignore everything and just do your own thing. But it relies a lot on that interaction. So if you see someone going and mining a bunch of gold, you go and rob them.
Right.
you get them wounded and you take some of their stuff. And you can get on the wanted track that way, which gets you points at the end of every one of your turns. But then that makes you a target for people to come and arrest you. And so it's a whole big like rock, paper, scissors thing going back and forth.
That sounds really fun. This is one that I had heard of, but I didn't know too much about it. Honestly, all of those elements coming together, it seems like it would be not only a very rewarding game strategically, but also just thematically and in terms of like getting into it and being immersed. Now I have another thing to add on my list. Reread Great Western Trail for Game Night by Western Legends. And there's a big box coming out? Question mark?
Yeah. The Kickstarter for that just ended. So it's like next fall or something like that. It's gonna be delivering is what they're estimating.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's not a cheap game. It's probably the one I've spent the most money on.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, maybe it's a good thing that the Kickstarter pledges just ended, but do they have pre-orders?
They're going to be doing late pledges, yeah.
Oh man. So, all right. Well, I'll definitely have to keep an eye out on that for sure.
Yeah, your wallet will be on my heart and mind.
Yes. It's a very skinny wallet. I mean, my wallet needs to go on a diet anyway. It's almost beach season, so, gotta slim up. Thank you so much for joining us, Collin. And if y'all at home haven't already and you're on Instagram, be sure to go over and follow this wonderful human being for a lot of amazing content and some great skits and just all the laughs and all the relatability, all the board game things.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure anytime there's a new Western game that you need to check out, like, oh, look, here's the post about the Western Legends Big Box along with Fliptown. This is the person to go to if you're looking for amazing, fun content and updates on all the Western games. I'm just going to go out there and say you're now like the Western themed board game ambassador. That's official now.
I'm proud of that title. Yeah.
Put that on your resume.
I'll put that like up next to the check mark on if I ever get verified on Instagram. Like, Western board game ambassador. I will echo. Go check out Circle the Wagons.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the one game that I think everyone should try. Maybe not everyone should buy it, but I think everyone should try it.
It's super small and compact, and it's very affordable. I think, is there a print and play? There's probably a print and play of it up somewhere for sure.
There is, yeah. So, the button shy print and plays are usually like $3.
Yeah, very affordable, and it's a very small print because it's only 18 cards. So it's probably like 2 sheets of paper. So yeah, I would definitely concur and say check out if any of the check out all these games if you can. Circle the Wagons is a great place to start if you're a fan of Western theme and want to get into those games a little bit more. But that's about all the time we have for today. So thank you again, Collin, for being here and sharing your expertise and love of Western themed games. And thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe down below. You can click the like button and hit the little bell for notifications if you want to be notified anytime a new video is uploaded. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
I'm trying to compose my thoughts. I don't want to just gush cowboy stuff over the screen.
Oh, you're all good. We'll put that on the OnlyFans channel.